I'm still not over it. It's Romania Black. I'm not over it. I thought, I took a week off between episodes 71 and 72 of Monster, and I thought that I'd be fine. I thought that I'd sit down today and I'd wear black to mourn and celebrate with some black coffee, and I'm still not over it. I can't believe Grimmer is gone. And we only have 3 episodes left. We only have 3 episodes. I know, my dogs left. 3 episodes. What we're going to do in those 3 episodes, we have to go face Roberto. We have to go track down Lunge and Roberto. Will we see Johan by the end of this? I can't believe that I'm here, 3 episodes left, and I have no clue what's going to happen. I know we have to confront Lunge and Roberto. We have to go back to that other hotel. We have to go back and see them. We have to do it, but as to what happens beyond that, how do you tie up a series like this in 3 episodes? There's going to be some shit going down this episode, I know, and I'm not ready for it. I'm not ready to lose Lunge. Nope. But, or Rudy, or possibly Nina, or for Tinma to shoot anyone. So, who knows? Do I think Tinma would shoot Roberto to save Lunge? Yeah, I think he would. And I think Lunge would do something like, well, it was within the law because you were protecting an inspector or something like that. I don't know. But I'm not ready. At least I know that my favorite character isn't in harm's way anymore. I have 2 people's comments before we start. H-Banana7 was talking about Wim. And Wim being instilled with enough self-worth from Poppy to not kill. Unlike Johan, who is not instilled with self-worth. Johan actually has like no self-worth. So there's that. But what's interesting is, what about his dad? His dad, as far as we know, hasn't killed anybody yet. So what has instilled his self-worth? What was instilled him from killing someone? Or is he gonna kill somebody this episode? I just don't know. And then Ira S. I really love this because I've been thinking about this ever since the last episode, that Poppy is not a monster, but this pathetic man. And I love that. I love the idea that this character we thought was this big, monstrous, villainous, sinister character is just this pathetic old man that was involved in some really bad shit. And it made me think back to how he looked at the Red Rose Mansion when all of the people there were dying and they were poisoned. He almost looked kind of timid there, and like he was up against the wall, and he didn't look like the sinister man putting his hand in the camera that we've seen in the other episodes. He looked a little bit more pathetic there too. And so now that I'm thinking back on it, I'm like, was he always that way? And it was just our perception from Nina and her perspective? It could be. But I did like Ira saying that despite him being pathetic and despite the tears that he sheds over Grimmer last episode, it's all about accountability. And that we should encourage those who have done wrong to change. Sure. But Poppy has closed off and hid himself, and instead of atoning for what he's done or take responsibility, which is why Grimmer wanted to keep him alive. He's like, yeah, it's great that you've turned over a new leaf and you're helping people like Petrov, but Petrov took responsibility. You're not taking responsibility. You're just hiding and not atoning at all. So the question is going to be, is Bonaparta going to atone? Is it going to make a difference? Is Johan going to kill him anyway? I don't know. Is Nina going to kill him? I don't know. My mind literally feels like Grimmer after watching an episode of The Magnificent Steiner. I have the vague idea that we have to see what's happening with Lunge and Roberto this episode, but aside from that, I don't know. These next 3 episodes are going to be, and once we tackle the whole thing with Roberto and Lunge, if it's this episode, then the last 2 episodes, how do you round out this series? How? So, all right. But I've taken enough time, and I don't want to take any more time. So, So we're not going to do that. We're instead going to just settle down and watch episode 72. I can't believe I'm here. So we'll just see what we get. All right. So we're going to watch episode 72 of Monster, and I'm not going to stall anymore. We're going to start it here in 3, 2, 1. Dear Lord, help me, baby Jesus. Let's go. This is fine. Oh my God. I can't. We have 2 episodes left. I can't. I feel like this series is going to end a lot softer maybe than I anticipated. I don't know. And I only say that because we're down to the wire. There's barely people left alive in this town. It's literally Wim's dad, Wim, the couple that won the lottery, which they don't have to worry about anybody finding out now about their winnings because they're all dead. And then there's Tinma, there's Bonaparta, there's maybe Roberto and Lunge and Johan and Nina and Rudy somewhere. There's like 11 people left in this whole town still alive. And I mean, Wim's got a gun. We need to put on here who has guns because that seems to be relative to this entire thing. Like, we need to do the gun count on here. All right? We need to have a gun count. We know that, sadly, Wim has a gun. We know that Bonaparta, a.k.a. Poppy, has a gun. We know... They call him Big Poppy. You know, I can't call him Poppy because it just feels like it's a slang term for dad. And of course, Klaus Poppy. It's like Santa Claus, it's Klaus Poppy. It's their dad, it's their foster father figure. No, I can't do it. No, we know that Bonaparta has a gun. We know Lunge had a gun. He actually had a shotgun, and he technically had 2. Technically, Tinma has a gun. Rudy has a cassette tape player. I realized who I would be in this world. If I was in the monster world, I would be freaking Rudy. That's who I would be. I'd be walking around with a cassette player being like, okay, let's get the scoop. I'm like, Rudy, people are dying and you're recording her testimonies for posterity. You know, Rudy, maybe we need to not worry about that right now, but it's fine. So we know that they have a gun. And we know that, Roberto had a gun. So there, and then we know the dad of Wim, he has a gun. And then the ones we don't know about are Johan. And we're assuming Nina maybe does. And then the couple, but Wim was using, here's the thing, the couple was crouched down there under the table and the kid was the one with the gun protecting them. So I don't know, they might not have a gun at all. So, but we know there's at least like 6, 7, or 8 in circulation right now. Oh my God. Nope. I can't. This episode was so tense. And I was going to the shelf. I just got this the other day from a patron and I was like, I need this. This little I am fine doll is going to sit right here. This is fine. Everything's fine. We're great. I'll just have them perched up there for the next episode the whole time. I probably will because so we'll go through this episode and talk about what we can, just getting a body count as we go. I wanted to look up Bergbach. I wanted to see what Bergbach means in German. So in Google, I'm going to look up Google Translate because that seems the most easy to get a hold of. I'm going to go down to German and do Bergbach. A mountain stream. Ooh, so Bergbach means a mountain stream. That's really interesting because we have Versteck, which was a hiding place, and then Bergbach, which is a mountain stream. Interesting. The first thing I think of when I think of Bergbach is the idea of the forest where Johan went to go think and meditate. It's so crazy. It's like has this tranquil name and there's all this violence happening within it, right? The thing about it is we don't even know. This is just accounting for the characters we do know. If there's anybody else alive in this town, we have no clue, right? That entire opening sequence with Lunge and the gun and the lump on the bed that's a distraction and that whole sequence was just nerve-wracking. That was so masterclass in just tension and anxiety and thriller. Oh, and then the gun like peeking out the doorway and then not being there. Oh my god. And then it's of course Roberto and he got Lunge. Also, genius. Lunge with his arm under the chair, holding the gun up, waiting for the right moment to blast through the chair and get Roberto. Lunge is a straight up stone cold badass. Just a stone cold badass. I love Lunge's character so freaking much. They may be my second favorite character in the show, and it looks like they're going to die, so that makes it even more frustrating. I'm like, son of a bitch. Although, I don't know. I don't know. It looked like Lunge might have taken the advantage back, but I don't freaking know. I don't even know. Why? It's going to be so hard to wait for the next episode. Y'all have no idea. And he says, are you Roberto? He's like, I have no name. That shot where he has the gun pointed at him, he says, I have no name. And that's when Lunge's like, got you there. So we find out that Roberto was from Kinderheim. Now, in the actual episode, I thought that he was Adolf, the boy that Grimmer was telling the Secret Service man about, because he always loved the cocoa. But I was getting really excited. I was like, oh my god, it's Adolf. But then I remembered that Adolf has died, and Grimmer talked about that. So it's not that Roberto is Adolf; it's that Roberto is from the same Kinderheim class, probably, as Grimmer and Adolf, which is still really freaking sad, right? Because it's the idea of Grimmer and what he went through, and then you have Roberto, who's the exact same way, and now it makes so much sense why Johan was so easily able to get to Roberto, because he could connect with him, because they both were from Kinderheim, just different generations. It all makes sense. They shared this generational trauma, and Johan's like, yeah, I had no name too, but now I have a name, and he gave him the memory. He gave Roberto back the memory of Coco because Johan knew about it and befriended him that way. And that's how he lured him in. And he's like, well, I got nothing to live for, so I'll just work for you. Oh my God. Let's get past this OP. Oh, my heart. So then, yeah, they give Grimmer this little funeral. Oh, they didn't even know his name. I hate it. And I hate that he had time while he was there to tell Wim about the story about Adolf and everything. Ugh. Poor Grimmer. I hope they give Grimmer like a proper burial when this is all said and done. I am also glad that Bonaparta is starting to own up to his responsibilities, because he doesn't just stay there with Wim and the couple. Although if he had, he would have ran into Nina. So maybe it's, it's fate that he didn't. But he's wanting to be like, I want to go with you to see Roberto and to see this all through. And Tim was like, fine by me, because this shit be crazy. It'd be nice to have you watch my back if you're not too crazy. And then he mentions the letter. So that's kind of like, what's so fascinating about all of this is that all of this mystery surrounding everything was the concept that he fell in love with her. That it was that the big concept here, and it seems so cheesy, but it's so beautiful, is the concept of love. It's the concept that allowed Grimmer to kind of come back from this isolation and emptiness. It's allowed Nina to kind of be who she is, the love that she's gotten from her foster family. Johan won't let that concept in. He won't let love in to change him. She shuns it. He doesn't exist. He doesn't act like it exists. He denies it, right? Because he doesn't want to accept it. And then you have Bonaparta. We'll put Poppy up here for the sake of writing, who fell for Anna, whom he gave the name back to. And it's messed up. It's messed up and disturbing that he fell for this woman who they had encapsulated and captured inside while she was pregnant. Like, it's messed up. Oh, it's the monster's love letter. It's absolutely messed up. But the idea that he was so in love with her and so like sad about what happened. He's like, I'll give you back your names. He says, your name is Anna, and now I'm only sad. And then he's like, I fell in love with their mom. And then that changed my way of thinking completely. And it's kind of like Petrov. Petrov decided to teach those kids love so that the monster would never affect them, right? It wouldn't infect them like the others. And then he talks about how it changed his way of thinking. And then because of that, I killed all the people who knew about her and knew about the twins. I killed them all, and all the people who knew about the experiment that he could find, right? So that's why he's like, that is it. And it's so simple, right? It's so, I do appreciate that Monster doesn't try to make this really convoluted and crazy complicated. It's like, no, the answer to him standing in the mansion, killing all these people, and him becoming a monster himself was in the name of love of her. He's like, fine. So because he fell for Anna, he ended up killing the Red Rose Mansion people with the experiment. The problem with that, of course, the major flaw of that is that, yeah, he killed the people in the Red Rose Mansion that were tied to it. He thought he was tying up loose ends. But by that point, the influence of his work had extended beyond the scope of his means. It was like, yeah, he killed the people in the Red Rose Mansion, but we know that the one lawyer, his dad, escaped and then was tried in court, so he didn't die at the Red Rose Mansion. We know that Johan and the ones, from those readings were already affected. His son Lipsky was affected by him abandoning him. We know that whoever started Kinderheim had been possibly influenced by his works. So it's like, and we know that like the one, the one guy's friend that he ends up dying trying to shoot, he was influenced as well. So it's one of those things where he tries to like rectify and settle a situation and tie up all the odds and ends to like serve justice to them, but it's too late. At that point, it's already the trajectory of what you've done has spread out so far that your net isn't going to capture everyone. And that's so crazy. But he tried to. Now, the question is, how did Anna die? That is the one memory we don't know. The one memory we don't have is, what about Anna? She died, but how? Because Schubert went to see her, and she was still alive then. So the twins escaped, so what happened to her? That's the memory we don't know. So did Johan kill her? What ended up happening? Did she stay behind and get captured by the secret police and killed by them? We don't know that yet. And I feel like Anna's death might be the memory that Johan remembers. That is the one memory that Nina didn't want him to remember. And that might be what we find out next episode. I don't know. The whole thing of Lunge, though, with Bonaparta being like, what kind of relationship do you have with Johan? And I like when Roberto says, how far you've fallen, and Lunge just blinks. And he's like, a top agent from the BKs in this backwater town, sightseeing on a trip without a badge. And he's like, you got too deep in a parliament scandal and you lost your job. So now you and Tinma Tinma is the only case that you're tied back to. So that's crazy. So I wondered if Lunge had lost his job and that's why he's been like away for so long and nobody's said anything, because he's never been called back to the force. He's been gone for months. You would think that eventually they'd be like, hey, you're not on vacation anymore. But it sounds like the people at the firm just kind of let Lunge stay there and do his business, because they were like, well, we don't want to just chase him away, but he knows he doesn't have a job, right? And so then he chased after Tinma because that's all he had. That's all he had left. And that explains why he was able to go sidetrack and then come back to this and do what he did. But I'm like, oh my God. So yeah, so Lunge, the sad thing is Lunge could die in the next episode and he's lost his job. His family isn't connected with him anymore. And the amazing thing is that concept of love. Lunge loves his grandson. Like he doesn't really have a great relationship with his daughter or his wife, but he loves that baby. And for Roberto to be like, there's somebody new with your wife and your grandson calls him grandfather. And he's like, I'm like, how old is this? Baby wasn't that old. He wasn't born that long ago. And then he's like, your wife is living with another man. Your grandson thinks of him as a grandfather. He started talking. He calls that man grandpa. Like, he's making it sound like Roberto has been the one with Lunge's wife. Which, Roberto's been with so many damn people and their wives, I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it. And it's like, and that's when Lunge gets pissed and he's like, excuse me, shut up. And he's like, I want to see him. And Lunge's like, shut up. He's growing up to be an adorable little boy. Shut up. That got Lunge. Just Roberto imitating being with that grandson and not him. Oh my God. Oh. And we don't know if it's true or not. He's done his homework on Lunge, but we don't know if Roberto's actually been filling in and being with his wife or not. We don't know that. Probably not. But he's doing it just to mess with Lunge and get his guard down so they can try to take the gun. Oh. He's like, how low you've fallen. He's like, the old Inspector Lunge was never like this. Oh, and then them going after the gun together and going out in the hallway. Oh, and the look in Roberto's eyes where he's like, I have no name, no country, no memories. I just remember leaving the orphanage and starting my job. And one day Johan appeared and he brought back one of my memories, just one. And just the way that Roberto's eyes kind of get bigger when he remembers that one memory. Like, it's the one thing he loved, was just getting one memory back. Because all they could remember were their friends. They couldn't remember themselves or even their own names. Of course he'd follow Johan after that. Of course. He's like, that's the thing that makes Roberto so scary, is that he doesn't have anything, any motivation. He doesn't have a country, a home, or a family. All he has is himself, but Johan gave him back one sliver of a memory, and that was all it took for him to follow him blindly. Oh my God. Poor Grimmer, though. I want to make note. I didn't notice this in the reaction, but Grimmer is so freaking tall that not only is he stretched out on the couch, they moved a little chair over so his feet could be up on the chair because they were hanging off the end. That's so freaking sad. Damn it. No. And they talk about the boy. The only thing they could remember was his friends. His friend liked drawing in bugs but hated killing them, so he always let them out of the cages. And his name was Adolf Reinhardt. He loved the cocoa they got once a week. But I thought he died. I thought that Adolf died. So it couldn't be this guy, right? Right? I want to go back to that episode where Grimmer is like, yeah, he remembers, I don't know. Was it really? I don't want to look anything up because it seems like a spoiler, but, so was it Roberto? Was Roberto Adolf? Oh my God. I'm trying to I don't know if I'm gaslighting myself to believe that he was or not. I thought Adolf had died. I thought the Secret Service man said that his grandson had died, or his nephew had died. I thought he said that, but if he didn't, and Roberto is Adolf, how the tables have turned. He's like, and I remembered, oh my God, and there's his face, yeah, that I loved Coco. Oh my God. Oh, the hot cocoa we got once a week at the orphanage. I'm just like, if that was Grimmer's best friend, oh my God. Oh my God. I want to see the episode where he was in there. Oh, there's a picture of a little boy. Oh my, he's my nephew. Oh my God, I guess that is him. Oh my God. Yeah, I found the picture of the bowl cut and everything. And his hair is like a little bowl cut, but it's just that Roberto's lost his hair. That's all. Like the eyes, oh my God. And the sad thing is, he only got one memory left. And the one memory he got left, the one memory he got back was about the cocoa. It wasn't about letting the bugs go. It wasn't about not killing them. It was about the freaking cocoa. I'm like, Johan, if you had the ability to bring back anybody's memories, how about you bring back the memory of him not killing bugs and letting them out of their cages and being a nice person? Not the fact that he liked hot chocolate. That doesn't change anything. Oh my God. Oh my God. So yeah. That's those memories, the importance of that. Damn it. Why couldn't Grimmer get to Roberto first? Why couldn't Grimmer get to Roberto first? He would have made him remember. Son of a bitch. I really wanted Johan and Grimmer to meet. That was always, we'll talk about this. At the end of this season, I'm going to do a review of Monster and kind of do like my favorite episodes. I'm going to talk about the manga last volume because I'm going to read the last volume of the manga when this is over and talk about the differences in it and maybe what's left out or what's been changed or added, whatever. But I did want to talk about like things that I expected to see but that didn't happen. And one of the things I really expected to see was Grimmer and Johan meeting. I really wanted that because I had this like envision of the Monster of the East and Monster of the West with Grimmer and Johan, but that didn't come to fruition, so what can we do? But yeah, the idea that we cut immediately to the storm drain, like washing everything away. Oh my God. And then, of course, we have Poppy saying, if only the rain would wash everything clean. And Tim is like, don't get freaking philosophical at this point. I'm so blown away. And he's like, fear, hatred, sadness. But the truth is, it does exactly the opposite. It makes things swell up even larger. It was raining like this on that day as well. Yeah. And so he explains that he saw the twins and he was starting to grow his facial hair out. And he's like, I went to their house and then talks to them. And he's like, I just want to see the twins. And the crazy thing is, all this time, like episodes and episodes ago, I thought that Bonaparta was literally trying to take them away and that he was working with the parents and that they knew who he was. They didn't know who he was. He just wanted to see them. And he didn't do anything. He just saw them, saw Anna in them, and then left. And then after that, Johan killed the foster parents. Because he probably thought Bonaparta was, coming after them. And it is creepy when a man that you know is connected to your mom and all these horrible things is standing right in front of you in the bedroom and the foster parents allowed him to come there and watch you sleep. That is freaking creepy. I don't blame Johan for being freaked out about that. Should he have shot them in the face? Maybe not, but you can't blame Johan for freaking out at that point. The thing about it is, there is this lack of communication. There's Johan and then there's Poppy, right? And there's just this communication is severed where Poppy never gets to tell Johan about all this. He's telling Tenma. And Johan is never able to talk about any of this. Instead, Nina kind of knows about it. And Nina and Tenma are both trying to roundabout figure all this out. But the lack of communication is a big factor in all this. And it's highly disturbing. I'm like, oh my God. But yeah. And then we see him starting to get older, like his hair's turning gray. And then, and he looks at Johan and there's like this tenderness in him. And with Poppy, because he probably sees Anna in Johan, because Johan looks a lot like Anna. But I'm like, I'm glad that this show humanizes Poppy and makes it to where he's just a man that regrets his involvement and how far it went. And he tried to erase all of that. But the problem is, he doesn't do enough. And it gets out of control. And then and then instead of like trying to fix the problem, it just makes it even worse. Oh. And I like that Tim was like, oh, well, there's been some stuff happen since all of that. And then, yeah, it all is tying back together. I'm like, And so they're headed to that damn hotel. And he's like, I created a monster. And Tim was like, and I brought that monster back to life. It's like Frankenstein. And Poppy being like, what? Brought back to life? What's happening? Oh my God. What do we do? And now the streets are all empty. So then we go back to Lunge being literally choked to death. Lunge being choked to death. And then Roberto is like, that Tenma has to survive. I could have killed him, but he has to survive. So according to Roberto, the plan, according to Roberto, is that Tenma has to be left alone. And he has to see Johan's world. So Johan's just, according to Roberto, Johan is just torturing Tenma. And he wants Tenma to be isolated like Wolf was. And like Johan feels like he is. So that he'll understand, and I'm assuming will take his own life, or who knows, right? He has to be, until the end, be all alone. He will die alone in desolation, without a name. That is in Johan's calculations. So the idea is that for, I guess, my thing is, I'm like, Tenma brought you back from the dead. Why are you trying to isolate him? What is going on? I guess because Tenma knows too much. So the idea is that he's going to be left alone without a name. The funny thing is about all of that is I don't think people are going to forget Tenma's name. I think he's influenced and helped too many people for them to forget his name. He's been the one to help all of them. Even so, I'm guessing Johan's just tried to isolate him through the crimes and everything to get Tenma to like retreat into the shadows like Johan has and just kind of fade out of existence. But we know Dieter, we know Eva, they know Tenma. They're going to spread the word about him. They have spread the word about him. People know about Tenma. So I don't know if Johan's going to be successful unless he kills like all of these people. But he's practically killed a town, so I don't know how these last two episodes are going to go with that. But, oh my God, the whole thing about the calculations, and he's like, these are all his calculations. And then he's like, Dr. Tenma will be allowed to see the world that Johan saw. So Johan basically was all alone and isolated, and now he wants everybody else to experience that. I'm like, Johan, for real? Dude, my dude. It's also really creepy how, like, soft Roberto looks in this. Insanity. Insanity that that's Adolf. I'm so blown away. I can't believe it. Nope. And he's like, I want to see that world as well. There's, like, a kind of creepy, creepy envy that Roberto has where he wants to see what Tenma's going to see from Johan. He's like, I want to see it. And then he's like, but you, oh, and he's like, you will not see it, Lunge. And that's so creepy. Like, as he's choking him, he's shaking him, and his body's, like, twitching. Oh, the animation in this episode, like, the way that the characters turned, the movement. It was so good. And he's like, you will not see it, Lunge. He's like, you're going to die. And then he switches arms. He's like, that is accounted for in Johan's calculations. But then Johan's like, oh my God, like that, whenever Lunge grabs his chest and like squeezes it, oh my God, and like just twists in where that bullet wound is. Oh my God. I love Lunge when he like throws him away and then he like gets on there and then puts the gun in his mouth. Oh my God. And just is sitting there like calculations. Those calculations. I don't add up in the computer in my head. Oh my God, Lunge! Lunge's like, that math don't add up. I'm like, oh my God, those calculations. Like the way his voice actor screamed, I was living. Oh. And then answer me, where is Johan? Meanwhile, we don't get an answer. So we have no clue about Roberto. We have no clue about Lunge. We know Wim is with the couple. Bonaparta and Tenma are together. Nina is over here with Rudy. The dad of Wim is out wandering around. So we have Nina and Rudy show up at the hotel. And she's like, he's watching from somewhere. He's watching us like ants, which is what Schubert had noted. He's like, she's like, and Nina's right. She's like, he's just going to wait till everybody kills themselves and then come in, take care of whatever's left and move on his merry way. Again, Rudy's face where he's just like, all right. I was really scared that Wim would like attack them. I was really scared that Wim was going to shoot Rudy for a second, but then he sees Nina and again, Urasawa connecting the dots. Wim had to go to that little cabin so he could see the pictures of Nina and then send Nina and Rudy to the vampire's house, which it makes sense that's where Johan's been. So in the other episode when he was just staring at the floor, it was a picture of him in the house staring at the photos. And she's like, where is it? And he's like, the vampire's house. What's interesting is there's all of this weird random stuff where we see Johan through Nina's eyes and et cetera, et cetera. And I'm like, I don't think they're psychic. I don't think they can sense each other, but, or maybe it's just her and what she's imagining Johan is doing. Maybe that's it. She's imagining Johan at the house looking at the portraits. And as they go here and as they go towards the house and see it, that's what she sees. Maybe. But then, yeah, then the drunk dad is like running around trying to figure out what's happening and saying the devil has come to this town. Yeah. So Rudy's like, well, no one's here, but do you think he was standing here looking at all these paintings? All these unfinished paintings. And then she starts repeating that, I'm home, welcome home, which is such like a creepy chant, but that's the source of her trauma, is her witnessing all those people die. And then she went back and said, I'm home. And he said, welcome home. And she unloaded all of her trauma onto him. And that's where this kind of all started. So, but there's that one memory. We don't have that one memory left. And I love that Rudy is just like, reaches out for the tape recorder. I was like, yes, you brought it with you, you good sir. A true therapist. Not gonna let it go. He's just like, bitch, I'm gonna record this whole damn session. Don't you worry. Oh. And then her just recounting everything. And the episode does take a little bit of time to like recount her talking about everyone dying in the mansion. And then when she turns her head and says, where's mother? Now the thing is, where is their mom? What's happened with her? We don't know that. That part is the part that is the fuzzy memory. And then she says, I'm sorry. Why am I apologizing? Back then, the two of you have to live. Why are you crying? And she says, stop crying. So clearly the mom or Johan is crying and the mom's telling her they have to live. So are we thinking that the Czech police took her? After all this, like, they knew she was tied up with the Red Rose Mansion, and so they put the blame on her and took her, and Bonaparta couldn't stop it, and so he ran, and that led the twins to run away. Maybe. I feel like we're getting so many things wrapped up and connected and tied back together. It's kind of insane, but oh my God, I'm still blown away by Adolf being Roberto! I can't believe it! And just how he ended up, because his emotions and stuff were taken away. And then she said he was crying. I'm sure he was here crying over these portraits in this room a second ago, just like that day. And then she's like, that night I had to shoot him. She's like, if I had forgiven him, this would never have happened. And so many people wouldn't have died. If I'd just forgiven him. I guess she's saying if I'd forgiven him for killing the parents and we just ran off together, and if I'd forgiven him and I hadn't shot him, maybe all this could have been avoided, but you don't know. I mean, there's no telling. But now it's like, well, what do we do? And Rudy's like, well, where did he go? And she's like, he's in the town and he's going to end it all there. Oh my God. Oh my God, this whole episode. But so we have two. I feel like there's more to this. I feel like I want to discuss more with these final episodes, but what can we say? it's a lot of action throughout. I'm sure the next 2 episodes I'll have things to talk about. But it just, what baffles me is, like, at this point, we have all these guns in circulation. We don't know if Johan has one or not. If Johan's idea is to isolate Tinma, then he's gonna kill Poppy, and he's gonna try to kill. But is he gonna kill Nina? Because Nina's now with Tinma. So the series has made it kind of seem like the twins are supposed to die, and even Bonaparta's like they're never gonna be happy together and have a happy ending. And I love that Tinma kind of looked back for a second, like bitch, as far as you know, like you don't know me. So but I don't know. We don't know Roberto and Lunge's fates. We don't know Poppy and Tinma, what's going to happen with them. Nina and Rudy, are they going to make it back in town in time? I'm terrified for Rudy if he dies. What about Wim? I just want Dieter and Eva to stay where they're at until this all blows over. And then what about the dad? I would really like, because we have kind of this correlation between Wim and his father, right? Between Wim and his father and Johan and Poppy. There's this correlation there, right? Where I would be really interested to see if Johan tries to convince Wim to kill his father. If Johan goes into town, stumbles upon Wim, and tries to convince him to kill his father, if that, because he views, Wim like himself and his dad like Poppy. And I'll be curious to see if Poppy does something to kind of contradict what Johan says to Wim, and to make Wim be like, no, you don't kill your dad. Because Grimmer tried, but, Grimmer's gone now, so that voice of reason is no longer there. And it could be like, because of your dad, Grimmer's dead. And, like, I could see Johan trying to, like, persuade him through that. So I don't know. This is fine. This is fine. It's fine. We just have 2 episodes of Monster left, and we're at the climax at this town that's dying, and it's just Johan and a bunch of guns and corpses everywhere, and I didn't think we'd be here. Could not have predicted this ending or this climax. Could not have predicted this climax a mile away. I don't know how the hell this series is going to end. We're going to find out next week. At least the penultimate episode. I can't wrap my mind around it, so the moral of the story is don't let this shit happen. So I'm going to brace myself to hope that Lunge lives. He's just been shot in the shoulder, and choked and punched, but he's not dead yet. We'll see. But, yeah. So I'm curious to know your thoughts down below. We'll see what happens, won't we? But the man with no name. We'll see what the penultimate episode is like next week. So in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and I'll be back next week with more Monster. Bye.